Back at it, episode 10, All the Above podcast.
Yes, sir.
Flight White, Ron Hamp. We got a special guest today, the one and only Super Bowl champ,
Sir,
Lance Moore. Welcome to the show.
Appreciate it, man. Let's talk about it, right? That's why I'm here. Let's do it.
Yes, right. Yeah, man. Shout out to Cal for making this happen. So, man, we really appreciate you coming on, especially during this week, Super Bowl week. So, Chiefs, Bucks, what you think about the game?
First, I think it's awesome that it's the two quarterbacks that we have, right? I mean, obviously, Tom Brady, who I think will go down as not just the greatest quarterback, the greatest football player probably that ever played. Mm-hmm. We can debate that or not. And then you match that with Patrick Mahomes, who I think could potentially be a guy that could kind of push Tom as far as being one of the greatest ever. His physical attributes, obviously mentally sharp. The things that he does on the field are things that, maybe one other modern day quarterback has done. That's obviously Aaron Rodgers. You could throw Brett Favre in there, but I'm not talking any Brett Favre with all the BS that he's talking these days. Anyway. But look, man, I mean, obviously the offensive firepower is there. It should be exciting. They're saying it's supposed to rain, which I don't think it matters because both of these teams are still good. They still want to throw the football.
Right.
I think it's going to be exciting, man. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored regardless of the weather. I'm a Saints guy, right? So I don't want the Bucks to win. I think they can win, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, they've got the talent. Obviously, they've gotten there. But I can't live with myself if I start cheering for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, especially since they came into our house and beat us in the playoffs. So I'm a rock with the Chiefs. I think they have a better team.
Yeah.
They did it last year. Obviously, they've got the Super Bowl experience. Mm-hmm. None of them as much as Tom Brady, of course. But
right.
You look at the rest of that roster, besides him and Jason Pierre-Paul, LaShawn McCoy, who's not really playing too much. I think it kind of stops there as far as Super Bowls go. And Gronk, throw Gronk in there. Mm-hmm. But then you got the Chiefs that been there, done that. Let's go take care of business so we can party after.
Right.
I'm a rock with them for sure.
Well, how big of a effect do you think it's going to have that the Chiefs are missing their offensive lineman? You think that's going to play a big factor?
I think if their coach wasn't Andy Reid and their quarterback wasn't Patrick Mahomes, yeah, right. I think it absolutely would. And I'm not saying it's not going to matter. I still think that, Shaq Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul, I mean, those dudes can ball. They can get after the quarterback, and it doesn't matter who's playing on the offensive line. It doesn't matter if it's all pro guy or practice squad guy that they pulled up. Those guys are going to be trying to get after them. So I think there's going to be situations where you're gonna look at a play that the Bucks make on defense, and you're gonna say, well, offensive line is banged up. They've got a bunch of new guys in there. But then again, I know that Andy Reid, if we're talking about it, Andy Reid is aware of it and is going to do whatever it takes. Him and Eric Bieniemy, obviously, they collaborate on the offense and shoot, man, they're going to have it so that they put themselves in the best situation to make plays at the right time and then throw in Mahomes. I mean, he's not Lamar Jackson back there because that's not his game, right? But he's able to avoid rushers and throw the ball from funny positions and funny angles and backpedaling basically and being able to make all of those. So I think it can have an impact, but I don't think it'll be the determining factor.
True.
Right. And I think like you mentioned, like Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, like their expertise on offense is going to kind of hide those blemishes. But deep down, I still think it's going to be a problem given to how elite Tampa Bay's defense have been playing.
But you got to factor in that they're gonna miss their safeties too. That's a big factor too. Tampa Bay will be missing their safety.
Yeah. Last I heard was that Winfield said today he was 100%, which I don't know that I believe. And then Whitehead basically said, like, I'm playing. Like, I don't care if I have one arm, I'm playing.
Yeah.
So I think that, that can have an impact, obviously, if those two can't move around the way that they do. But, I mean, they can neutralize that if they get a consistent pass rush, right? I mean, I I would have more issue with it if it was their corners that were banged up than their safeties. Not to minimize what those guys do, because I think that is one of the better and really underrated duos in the National Football League at the safety position. But if their corners were banged up and they got to run with those guys in Kansas City, I would just say cancel it, because there's no chance that banged up, hurt, slowed down corners can run with those guys. And I'll throw Travis Kelce in there too, because he was eating them up last time as well.
Right. So, like, you playing in the Super Bowl before, and knowing how crazy it is that week and the media and all that type of stuff, is it going to be a huge like advantage either way, that's not going to be going on as much? Like, you don't have the same distractions in Miami or Florida as you would be if you was like everything was open. Like, it would make a big difference, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's funny you mentioned Miami, because that's where we won our Super Bowl, and that week was that week was crazy, and I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit later. But I do think for sure that the fact that first Kansas City, they're not even traveling until Saturday, so for them this is a normal week. So it doesn't have the same type of impact as far as the media obligations and all the extra things that you have to do throughout the week. I'm sure that they have done more Zoom meetings, more telephone interviews, all those things, but that doesn't have the same effect as busing from your team hotel to the media day, to this place, and dedicating extra time every single day throughout that week to things that don't have anything to do with the football game. Like that to me was like one of the worst parts, because it's like, dang, like I just want to do my normal routine, and it's anything but routine. And the coaches tell you all the time, like, we're gonna try to make this as routine as possible, and that's a damn lie. It's not. There's no way that you can make it normal in that moment, because there's nothing normal about that game.
Right. I've been through something similar, like thinking like when we did the dunk contest, I'm thinking like it's gonna be normal. I just want to, we got all this media and all this stupid stuff. I'm like, dog, I do not want to do all this. I just want to go to my hotel. Tell me when it's time to perform, dog. Let's tell me when it's time to do it. We got to do all this. Even before it was time to get on the stage, like got 17 people performing. He got the national anthem. Like, dog, just sitting here. I'm 30 at this point, so my legs getting stiff again. I'm like, God damn, like, you know what I'm saying? So it was definitely what I didn't expect.
Yep, hurry up and wait. I mean, that's really what it is, because there's such a big deal that's made out of the whole event, right? I mean, All-Star Weekend is the same exact thing. There's so many different things that go on, and unless you're really a part of it, you don't see the extent of it, right? We're watching on TV like, oh, okay, they got the skills competition, then it's the dunk contest, or then it's the three-point contest, then it's the dunk contest, but we don't see all the stuff that's going into it. It's the exact same thing for the Super Bowl, and it's I think it's even worse the day of the Super Bowl than it is the rest of the week, because it's such a long process from the time that you get to the stadium to the time that you actually kick off until the time that the game is actually over. I mean, it's the longest.
Too, right?
Exactly. Halftime is long. Pre-game is long. You warm up, cool down, then warm up again before the game. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. But you just, look, you do what you got to do. You made it to that moment, and you don't complain about it, because there's nothing that you can do that's going to change it. You just have to do what it takes to stay focused in the moment and be ready to perform when your number is called.
Indeed.
So, like, both of y'all, like, so Flight, you was in the dunk contest All-Star Weekend. Lance, you was in like, how do y'all lock in? Like, when it's like, all right, I know warm-ups is 15 minutes, but now it might be 23 minutes, or halftime gonna be 30. How do y'all lock in?
I was completely caught off guard. I ain't gonna lie to you. So, like, when I got there, it's like we the last competition. So, I'm thinking I'm gonna get there at this time. It's gonna start at this time. So when I get there, we get there mad early, and basically I was just sitting around. We was like downstairs, just sitting around in the gym. It was like, you can warm up down here. So I'm like, cool. So I'm thinking, all right, I'm gonna warm up. So I'm doing my little warm up stuff. I'm down in like the Rockets practice gym. I'm like, okay, cool. So by the time I'm thinking it's time to go up, so okay, let's go up. We go upstairs. Then it's like the 3-point competition ain't even started yet. So I'm like, damn. They ain't started yet. So now I'm standing around. I'm just standing around upstairs, right? I'm like, damn. So then, okay, 3-point competition. Now we got to stand there, and then they're like telling us, okay, yeah, you're first, you're second, you're third. They're telling us the order we're going in. I'm like, I don't know what we going in order for. What we about to do? Next thing you know, 2 Chainz performing. So now we got to go up to some stage with this big thing where they performing. That took another 30, 45 minutes, right? So I'm like, damn, now I'm stiff. I'm like, damn, okay, maybe we're going to get a warm-up in. You know what I'm saying? Get down, finally get to the court, right? They introduce everybody. Finally get to the court. They put 2 minutes on the clock, bro. So I'm like, yo, if I was 22, 20, when I was first got in the league, I'd have been like, that ain't no problem. Like, it don't take much for you to get warmed up. But now I'm at 30. I'm like, I'm over. I'm, it's a little different. I got to warm up these legs.
Yeah, right.
I went into there stiff, but I didn't think about none of that. I didn't understand none of that. But like he said, you just got to be like, all right, got to do what I got to do. Make the most of it. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
that's how my experience was.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I guess we're lucky enough that the coaches, the staff basically gave us the schedule and let us know, okay, this is where we're going to be. This is what time it's going to be. This is how much time we're going to have. And for me, it was like, man, that sucks. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, control what you can control. Like,
right.
So if your initial warm up has to be a little lighter, just so you don't use too much energy too early, then so
That's
be
the problem,
it. So
right
like,
there.
And I think our coaches did a good job of kind of holding us back a little bit in the initial warm up. And then when we come out for the national anthem and all the performances before the game, then as soon as that was done, they gave us like, I don't know what it was, a couple more, 10 more minutes or something. That's when I was like, all right, I got to ramp it up a little bit. So at least like the adrenaline is really going, and then it's game time right after that. So, I think there's something to be said about professional athletes and their mentality to be able to handle whatever's thrown at them, right? And it's usually the guys that can handle those type of situations the best that last the longest, because it's the unknown that gets guys out of the league as fast as possible.
Right.
We obviously all have talent and skill and ability, or else we wouldn't be there. But being able to adjust and be coachable, obviously, but to adjust to those situations of the unknown and make something out of nothing. I think that's what helps guys stay and have longer careers for sure.
I mean, you see that in boxing a lot. Like when you say a guy like, well, he ain't never been on that big stage before, and you see it, and they like. You see dudes get shell shocked, like I never really been. You can tell, and you see it all the time. And some dudes step up to the challenge and like just own the moment, and some people just really they get caught in the moment and can't perform. Like it just happens all the time. But you don't understand it unless you've been in situations like that. Like you don't understand the media, the stuff you're gonna have to do every day, all the different tours you're gonna have to do to talk all these different. You're not used to that stuff, and it takes away from what you're normally doing, and you just can't handle it. Like some people can, some people can't.
Yeah, Sean Payton, one of his favorite sayings was, "It's not for everybody," and that's like that's obviously on a number of different things, but just being a pro. I mean, it's not for everybody. There's a lot of guys that had the ability that didn't have it up here, or just for whatever reason couldn't make it work. And that's a perfect case. Like guys that could have been there, but just didn't have the other part of it to be able to make it.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy, man. Just like y'all, man. Y'all like Flight, you got a championship. Lance, you got a championship. It's just like it speaks volumes like how y'all are as individuals, as professionals. It's just dope overall. It's just dope to see. So that was just my little random tidbit.
For sure.
Yep. So going back to the game, like how many fans are allowed?
I want to say there's like 20,000, maybe 24,000, something like that. I mean, yeah, it's definitely a lot in the COVID age. I think it's going to be the biggest attendance. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the biggest attendance so far in the NFL. Obviously, different states and cities have different mandates. So some teams been playing in front of 30-40% of their stadium. Other teams been playing in front of none. Like, I mean, the LA Chargers and the Rams, they had no fans.
Right.
So like we not playing out here in Cali, man?
Mm-hmm.
So
you would have had it in Texas. It'd have been completely full. You would have had it in Texas.
That's crazy, man.
Crazy down here.
That's it. Yeah. So it's gonna be different because the players will have a certain amount of tickets like throughout the league, right? All the players get an opportunity to, if you're a current player, you get an opportunity to purchase a couple of tickets.
Okay.
So there's gonna be less tickets out there for fans, which means the resale value of the ticket this year is probably the biggest ever, right?
Oh, yeah,
this is
for
going to be
sure.
the lowest amount in attendance probably in I don't even know how many years, probably forever.
Right.
So I think it's regardless of who's there, it's going to be rocking, right? Because I mean everybody's kind of thirsty for entertainment, thirsty for sports, thirsty for normalcy, and I think it'll be. On TV, it probably won't feel too much different. I don't think. They're not gonna. They've done a good job this year of adjusting camera angles, so you're not really seeing as much of the stadium.
The crowd.
No, you hear it though.
You like watch these NBA games. It looks like they're back in Orlando because it's like, dang, like this looks like they're back in the bubble. So
right.
They do that by design. Obviously, they don't want to show games with the seats empty. And I get it, that's an important part of their ratings, and they think people will tune it out if if it doesn't look like it's packed. But it's a strange time, and hopefully this is the only Super Bowl that has to be played like this. But the knuckleheads got to get their act together and push things along in the right direction.
So basically, the NFL, the Super Bowl is basically the NBA All-Star game. It's basically the same. It's basically the equivalent. It's about the same thing, pretty much.
Yes, because the Pro Bowl, which is the NFL All-Star game, it's not as big of a deal as it was like when we were growing up as kids. Like the Pro Bowl was like that was it. Like obviously the Super Bowl was big.
But it used to be to be in Hawaii all the time too, though, right?
Yep.
So everybody couldn't just go.
Yes. So they moved it to Orlando, and I think they actually moved it back to Hawaii last year or the year before. But it's really just a glorified vacation. Like the players really aren't playing like that. And nowadays you get a check whether you actually play in the game or not. So a lot of guys are like, nah, I'm good. Like send somebody else, send me my check to the crib. So it's not quite as big of a deal. So the Super Bowl week is NBA All-Star weekend.
Everybody, all the players get tickets and they can choose if they want to go or not. That's dope. Yeah, because I only went to like one All-Star game, but I used to give my tickets to my dad all the time. He used to go. He went to the Vegas one. He went to the one in Vegas. He was telling me how crazy it was out there that year. I heard stories about that foolishness, but yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
So do you think even though the stadium is not at full capacity, is the pressure level still what it normally would be?
Yeah, it's the Super Bowl.
Sure.
Right. I mean, this is the pinnacle of the sport. There is there could be no fans. Like they could be playing at a middle school field for real. And the pressure is still going to be at that level. For a lot of these guys, this will be the only Super Bowl they ever play in.
Yeah.
Maybe not for the Chiefs, right? Because they went last year, but you couldn't have told me after we won the Super Bowl in 2009 that we weren't going to win 2 or 3 more. Like I was convinced. I was like, man, not only are we nice, but like we got a chance to be nice for a minute.
Yeah.
And then the next year we lose in Seattle for a wild card weekend. The year after that, which I think the 2011 team was even better than our Super Bowl team in 2009, had a bunch of injuries late in the season. We end up losing at San Francisco in a divisional round, which we had no business even like we should have blew them out of the water. But that's the NFL, man. Like you don't show up on any given Sunday and you lose, especially in the playoffs, right? Because everybody is good. This isn't the college football playoff where like one team is at just a different level. It's not like that in the NFL. There's too many good players on every team and everybody's getting paid, right? So it's not an unequal playing field. Like the salary cap is there for a reason to try to make it as equal as possible. But yeah, I mean, I tell people all the time, like for all the stuff that we had to do leading up to the Super Bowl, right? There's 2 weeks in between the championship game and then the Super Bowl. To do all that stuff, play in the game and lose, to me, almost wouldn't be worth it. Like I would rather not go to the Super Bowl and have to go through all that stuff and take an L I mean, I would rather not go than take an L. I mean, that's just. I'm fortunate. I realized I'm blessed. I played in one. I won one. At that point, it's just kind of like, all right, I want to win another one, but let me get this money and see what else can happen. But it is just it's long. It's tiresome. We were in Miami, and you're there for a week, so the coaches don't want to make it like bad for the players in a sense that they're putting us on curfew every day, right? That would have been terrible, right? Okay, we got 11 o'clock curfew every single night. That's not normal, right? We don't have curfew when we're in New Orleans. Like we could do whatever we want throughout the week. Like if a guy wanted to party on a Thursday or a Friday, he would party on a Thursday or Friday as long as he was right on Sunday. Nobody said a word. Right. So we didn't have a curfew until Monday night was our first night. We had practice right when we got there. Tuesday was media day. So guys kind of thought, well, maybe we could go out Monday night because we don't have Tuesday's our players' day off, right? When all we have is media day, so it's not that big of a deal. We'll be cool. That'll be our recovery day. We'll be, back into the flow by Wednesday morning, practice Wednesday afternoon. Man, I think 80% of the team went out Monday night. And I don't mean went out like went to dinner, had a couple glasses of wine. I mean like we were streets in Miami, like all the like it was off season for real. Like it started at dinner. We're at like Prime 112 or something, eating. Next thing you know, I see Franco Harris is in there, the legendary Pittsburgh Steelers running back, Hall of Famer. He sends two bottles of Cristal to our table. So we're just casually drinking Cristal with Franco Harris. Next thing you know, the shots come out. I'm like, okay, like we really doing this. Yeah. And I don't mean like we like small players. Like I had a good role back then, but I wasn't Drew Brees. I wasn't Reggie Bush. I wasn't any of those big name guys. But we had some pretty big name guys in there with us. Yeah. And from that point, it was like, all right, well, what's the move? Like, are we about to be out or
once the big time dudes is there too, then you got to go all in now. Like if they're out, then we out.
100%. And at that point, it was just like, all right, I don't really even care what they got going on. Just to see them out drinking with me now.
Right.
That's a green light. That's a green light. And in those days, I'm taking all the green lights.
Right.
So it was from there. We hit, I think it was Club Bed. Somehow somebody arranged a section. Club Bed is long shut down now. That's the old head in me talking. Yeah, So we go to Club Bed. We have a huge section. I would say there's probably 15 or 20 Saints players. And right on the opposite side of the dance floor, up in one of the sections, was at least 15 to 20 Colts players. So at that point, I'm like, okay, like this is straight. Like at least it's not just me. It's like both teams are in there. They're enjoying Miami. It was nice and vibey in there. And it was a long night. Like we got back to the hotel probably 4:30, 5 a.m. And we had like wake up and breakfast around 8. The bus was picking us up for the media day at 9 a.m. So that's a quick little turnaround there. Yeah. So long story short, I'm gonna try to wrap it up, but get on the bus and everybody's, the people that were out, obviously, everybody's kind of like, man, dang, like, that was a fun night, but I'm hurting right now. But again, like we're pros. We have a night, we recover, we get our minds right, we get back right throughout the week, and then we, are ready to play on Sunday. We get to media day. And, every team has the guy that's taking attendance, that's going around and marking guys off, making sure everybody's there. And sure enough, we were about 8 or 9 light. And when I tell you that Coach Payton came into that locker room and like, he's not like always the yell and scream type of dude, but he will if he has to. He was going in. Like, you MFers want to come down here and party? We might as well go home now. Like, we'll get embarrassed on TV, blah, blah, blah. Like, he was going in. And he was like, if I find out anybody else is partying throughout the week, I'm just going to send you back to New Orleans. So at that point, everybody's like, all right, like, it's a wrap. And thankfully for the guys that were late, the hotel that we were staying at, like in the Super Bowl, they have vehicles for everybody. So if you your family's in town, they flew in, you want to go do something with your family, you just check out a car and you drive around the city. So all these guys had to hurry up and pile in these cars to make it to media day, because in the NFL, you get fined for everything, right? Guys that are late, just being late, they were fined $1,500. So if they would have missed media day, I don't even want to know how much they would have been fined. So like, luckily they got there late, so they only got that like $1,500 fine. But it just, I feel like from that point on, Coach Payton going in on us, it really set the tone for, we knew how big it was, how big of a deal it was, but it really got our minds, I guess, back refocused on what was most important in the task at hand. And he said, look, man, like, we go out here and we win this game on Sunday, you can party until the bus leaves for the airport for all I care. Like, I'm not worried about that part, right? We're not going to get this chance again, right? This is it. Like, we got to take advantage of this opportunity. But yeah, that night was fun though. Like,
well, since you won, what was the Sunday? Was it live?
So yeah, that's a funny story too. So we win the game, get back, and both teams have like parties at the hotel, which are usually the family party. They have live music and stuff, food and drinks or whatever. So I have a bunch of family there, so we stopped through there, and then it was like, all right, we're out of here. We had a limo pick us up. There's probably 10 or 12 of us, and we're like, we're going to live. Like, we just going. We don't have any reservations, because like a part of me was like, man, I'm not trying to like book a table ahead of time and then mess around and lose like that. That would be trash.
Right.
So we just showed up, walked right up to the front, and one of my buddies who doesn't play was just like, yeah, we got a couple of the Super Bowl champions. They want to get a section for tonight, and the dude is like, oh. He was like, nah. He was like, Diddy and Rick Ross bought out all the tables. So we were like, huh? And he was like, yeah, Diddy and Rick Ross bought out all the tables. And we're like, damn. And he was like, the Super Bowl champions, the guys that just played in the game, you're not gonna let them buy a section. He was like, there are no sections. Like, we're not gonna let them in. We're not gonna let them in. We were like, damn. So we had to get back in the limo and circle the wagons and figure out where we were. We ended up the first spot was like some little house music spot, but they basically let us in and comped everything. So we went there for a little bit, and then we kind of bounced around from there. But it was a fun night. It hurt a little bit that they wouldn't let us in to live without the reservation. And one of my buddies that was with me, Andrew Hawkins, former Cincinnati Bengals player, he made like a funny like spoof cartoon or an animated spoof that I have to send to you guys so you can see it. But man, it was like it humbles you, right? Because like you're riding high, you're feeling good about yourself and what you just accomplished. And I was lucky enough to make a couple plays in the Super Bowl, so I'm thinking like, okay, like I'm gonna have a little extra something to me tonight, and then it's like, nah. Diddy bought this out. Like, you guys go somewhere else. So yeah,
Liv will humble you every time. Liv will do that to you every time, right? Like, if you ain't like really banking, like if you ain't planning on spending on like real bread like that, like Liv will really put you in a place like you really ain't it. I've been in that lobby of Liv several times, just sitting there like.
But that's the thing, though. Like at that point, the Super Bowl bonus or whatever was like over $100,000. So like it wasn't like we weren't going to go in there and spend money. Like we were well equipped to like go in there and like really turn it up. But there's levels, and I understand that I'm not on a Diddy level, and what he's able to do in there is totally different from what I'm able to do in there. So.
And the crazy part is like they don't even really they really give them that stuff though. That's the 100%. Crazy part. But then they come at you like, yo, okay, you get a table, but it's gonna be $30,000. Like, I'm not paying $30,000 for no table.
Minimum.
Like,
minimum. That's what it's gonna be, right?
I'm like, nah. When that's done, it's really 50. Really, right. when it's all done. Like, so it's like, nah. I've been there before, like with like big time people, like, oh yeah, we got a table, it's gonna be 30. And then the other person like looking at you like, okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put in. I'm cool. I'm gonna chill in the lobby. It's a lot of action in the lobby anyway. I'm just gonna chill over here,
That's one of the best lobbies on the planet, for sure.
In the world. In the world, for sure.
But that's Miami itself will humble you. I know I've been humbled many a times in Miami.
That's the only place I've been. That's the only place I've been to that's like that. I've never been anywhere else that it's like that though.
LA
like they don't play no games. Like they don't care about nothing. Like they don't care. That's the only place I've been to. I've been to some places in Vegas that's kind of like that, but you can eventually like be like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Live? Nah. They don't play
Live. It was a spot in LA. I ain't nobody. So I forgot what it was. It was like a popular day party spot. I think Planet Hollywood. It was something. It was like 2 years ago.
Playhouse.
Yeah, Playhouse.
Mm-hmm.
So we like getting in line, like, yeah, we're gonna get a table. And they was just like 15,000. What?
Yep.
15, what? No, I'm good. I turned around. So my one guy, he like perping, like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the ATM. Like, what you wanna do?
ATM 15,000.
ATM. He gonna go to the ATM and get $300 out.
Yeah. He like, man, the ATM is broke.
Right.
No, LA try to humble you too sometimes though. Like, but if you know, like it's a place where if you somebody, you got any kind of status at all, they'll try to look out for you. You know what I'm saying? Like Miami, they don't care about none of that though.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like in most places, it's status and then who you know. But Miami, nah.
Right.
That's wild. Ross and Diddy though. That's crazy.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
So like, all right, so y'all both won championships, NBA and NFL. What was the like? You kind of touched on it, Lance, like the euphoric feeling of winning. Like, what was the like? I know it's probably something you might not be able to explain, but
right.
How did it feel? I know it's cliche.
Yeah, you know what? I try to put it into words as far as like what the feeling was the moment the clock struck zero, right? Like, because after the game, you have a little bit of time to digest, and you really are like, damn, like I just won the Super Bowl. But in that moment, the best way I can describe it is like full body goosebumps, and it doesn't like stop anytime soon because it's like, damn, like this is really happening. Like we really just won the Super Bowl. And you know, for somebody who played every sport growing up and then ended up really falling in love with football kind of later, this is what you dream of, right? Like you dream. I'm sure James the same way. Like you're a hooper, you dream of winning an NBA championship. Like that is the goal. Obviously, you want to go and make as much money as possible and hopefully meet, you know, your wife and the mother of your children. That's all a part of the journey. But like the Super Bowl or the NBA championship or a major league champion, I mean, whatever it is, like that is what you play ball for. And really like the kid inside of you is like most excited because you grow up watching it on TV. You see all these people that you looked up to from the time that you started watching the game who achieved that level of greatness and team success. And you want to be a piece of that, a piece of history, and have a part of that. It's not only just for me, right? My mom and my dad and my brother and like all my family can tell people, look, Lance won a Super Bowl. Or my kids someday can say, you want to see my dad's Super Bowl ring? Like that to me is like the coolest part of it is that it wasn't just about me. Obviously it's a team sport, it's about all of us, but the impact and the effect that it has on those that love me and that are around me too, man, it's been awesome. Like that's something that nobody can ever take that away. Like I could be 90 years old and not even be able to put my ring on, but they'll still have to call me a Super Bowl champion. And that to me is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the exact same way about that part right there, that you can't take that away. Like you're in the books forever, you know what I'm saying? And also like the thing about the ring, like your kids can always, you know what I'm saying? That's going to be passed down from generation to generation. Mine's is probably a little different because I wasn't a part of the, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't a part of the championship as much as you was. Plus in football, it's one game. So it's like, it's just one game all in one moment. For us, we was playing Cleveland, and it was just like we knew we was gonna beat them dudes. Like so, it was like it wasn't like we swept them. So it wasn't even like each game was different. It was like each game was like we're getting closer. But throughout the season, I was like, I know we were good, but I didn't think until we got to that moment that we really had a chance. And then I was like, damn, we about to win the championship, man. Like I was really like, you started feeling it until to that fourth game when we was like, okay. And then afterwards, of course, I wasn't in Miami. I was in Cleveland, so it wasn't as spectacular as it did in Miami. But we had some fun. But yeah, man, like you said, it's something you can't take away from me. I won other championships, like, in my life where I've been a bigger part, but it didn't feel the same. It wasn't the same as winning the NBA championship. You know what I'm saying? Yep. So, like, it's nothing like it. And I can just imagine for a guy like a Tony Parker or a Tim Duncan or a Manu Ginobili, even though it wasn't their first one, I probably like a Michael Finley, who I think that was his first championship ever. I can imagine how, towards the end of his career, how great it was for him to feel that feeling, because he's never, he's been a great player, but never getting to that level, and finally getting there probably was just magical. It was my rookie year, so I'm thinking like I'm gonna win 20. It's my first time. I'm about to win 20. But like you said, like, people don't understand. I tell him all the time, how hard it is to win a championship. People don't understand. Everything has to go perfect for you to win a championship. Like, one injury, one play, one thing can happen, and it can ruin everything, especially in football, because everything's one game. So like one bad miscue can change the complexion of everything you got going. You can be the best team don't always win. So yeah, man,
the best team on that day. That's what it is.
Yes. So it takes a lot of luck. I mean, of course, you got to have. I mean, the team concept has to be in place. Like, playing with the Spurs, like, the organization itself is just top notch. Like, the team, I just learned how to be like. I knew what a championship team was. Like, if I'm going to another team, I can tell you right now, when I go into that locker room, do they have the right mentality to be a championship team? Because I've seen it before, and that's like the biggest difference for me.
I agree for sure. There's a certain way that the organizations are run. There's a certain way that the players kind of accept responsibility of that. It's a culture thing, obviously. Like, you don't see teams with poor culture winning championships. It just doesn't happen. And it doesn't matter how great the players are. If the culture is jacked up, then, and I would say it's kind of rare in professional sports that culture is totally messed up, right? I mean, usually a coach has been in the game long enough that people know kind of what they're getting. There's some misses for sure. But I mean, I think that, the Saints team, my rookie year in 2005, the culture wasn't bad. The situation was bad, right? We had Hurricane Katrina to deal with. We were displaced. So we weren't in New Orleans. We were in San Antonio, and like, everything was basically against us. Like, the deck was stacked against us. And there really wasn't anything that we could do that was going to help us win games outside of, the X's and the O's, obviously. But it was like we had no help. And, for a team in the NFL to know that we didn't have a chance, that was bad. And I think that culture that was okay, at least toward the end of the year, was like not really good at all. So when Jim Haslett got fired, they brought Sean Payton in. His big thing was, I'm weeding these guys out. We're going to completely change this culture from guys that had to suffer through the last season and just getting through it to guys that not only know how to win, but want to win and want to get back to work. And that 2006 training camp was hell. Like, to put it most bluntly, like, it was terrible. And he had guys retiring. He had guys asking to get traded. It was like two-a-days every day, full pads every day. We're in Jackson, Mississippi at Millsaps College, little D3 campus, walking to and from practice every day. Like, it was real. Like, they called us the Junction Boys because it was like some old Bear Bryant, Alabama, 1960s days out there. But you know what? It really did change the culture, and it really did make us believe that, man, we got through this training camp, we can get through anything. And it bonded us, and it brought us closer together. We made the NFC Championship that year. Unfortunately, we lost in Chicago. But from that point on, it was like, okay, we're building a winning program here. And we want guys that are on board with that. And obviously, a couple of years later, we were able to win a Super Bowl. So I think the culture part sometimes is talked about too much but it's low key underrated, if that makes sense.
It's definitely underrated. It's definitely underrated. And it's harder to build culture. It's so rare these days to have like an elite culture because so many pieces are always changing in the sports league, especially in basketball. It's like every year they're building teams. So it's hard to build culture and cohesiveness. I mean, not so much in the NFL, but in the NBA, it's like, damn, a new team is put together every year. And that's why it's so hard to build that culture, man. It's easier when you have a coach in place, you got a system in place, and people want to go there for that reason. Like people go to the Spurs because they want to play for Popovich, and when they go there, they know exactly what it's going to be, and they want to buy in. And that's, I mean, like going to the Saints and going to these different, like a team that's already established with a coach that you know what you're getting, you know what it's going to be about, and if you come there, you have to buy in. Like, I mean, that's the difference, really.
Yeah, and I think it even goes beyond like the players and changing destinations. It's the organizations not giving these coaches time, right? I mean, some coaches are there for a year and they're getting fired. Some are getting 2 years and they're getting fired. So what do you expect to happen? I'm playing with this last coach's players. Like like you can't overturn a roster in a year. Like you just can't do that. So if I'm an owner or a general manager somewhere, I want somebody that's kind of married to my mentality as far as building a roster, developing players, and making sure that culture is clean and top notch. Right. And I'm going to allow him an opportunity to build that.
What you think it should be like a 5-year plan?
I think 4 years minimally, right? Because 4 years gives them time to kind of implement everything that they want to implement. They have a couple of different free agencies to get some of the players that maybe they've wanted to have for wherever they were before. They're just interested in. Yeah, I mean, you got to give a coach time, and if he can't do it in 4 to 5 years, then you move on. But I think the Browns, man, the Browns were firing coaches every other year. Like, what do you expect to happen? Stefanski is a good coach. Yeah. For him to come in and do what he did with that team in 1 year, that's kind of unheard of, right? That doesn't really happen that often. Yeah. I mean, that takes me back to the Saints in 2006. We were 3-13 in 2005 and played in the NFC Championship game the very next year. It just doesn't happen all that often. That's all.
Right. Yeah. I feel you.
So y'all team, your Super Bowl team is like, I think it's super underrated because it was like a blend of you had the Reggie Bushes, the Drew Brees, the Will Smith, rest in peace. Then it was like the unsung heroes like you, Pierre Thomas. Like it was a great blend of like star power, blue collar guys. I think it was one of the most slept on teams compared to other championship teams during that time. Yeah, and the fact that played many.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, going into that game, not a single expert picked us to win it. Everybody's picking Peyton Manning, and that was obviously we were aware of that. And Coach Payton talked about it the night before the game, put it up on the big board for everybody to see. Look at this. Every single person, Colts, all across the line. He was like, it doesn't matter. Like, we don't care what anybody outside of this room says about what's going to happen in that game because none of them have to go play in it. We're the ones that can control what happens in that game. And it really didn't matter if we were playing Peyton Manning or anybody else on that day. Right. I think we would have won regardless. We had too much going for us that year. And we were a team that I think that was so close that even early on in that game, when they go right down and score, then they go down and kick a field goal, we're down and we're like, hey, we're down 10-0. But sure enough, we just grind and we just keep playing and keep playing and keep playing. And then the plays start getting made and they start getting made a little easier. And then you come the second half, Drew's getting hot and he's completing 15, 16, 17 passes in a row. At that point, it's like, all right, we're not going to lose this game. So, I think that team was – I still think the 2011 Saints team was better. It's just unfortunate that we didn't win it, but yeah, we were stacked that year, but it is what it is, can't change it.
Yep. So Drew Brees, clearly first ballot Hall of Famer, he's retiring. Like, how was it playing with him and watching him prepare as a top tier quarterback?
It's amazing. You couldn't come up with any kind of excuses as long as he was playing. The amount of work, the amount of time that he put in, he really made it easy for us, and I say us, everybody else on the offense, for us to just be able to play. Like we didn't ever have to worry about doing anything extra, worrying because Drew might not be on time or the ball might not be in the right spot this time, or he's worried, or we're worried about him setting us up and us getting crushed by a safety or a linebacker or something. Like we really didn't have to worry with that. That was gone. We could just focus on what we had to do as far as obviously getting open, handling our business in the run game, and catching the balls when they were there because we knew they were going to be delivered on time and on target. Shoot, man, he is the hardest working player I've ever been around. He's a coach on the field, and there's no wonder that he's been able to play for 20 years at such a high level. People talk now about his lack of arm strength and how he's not the same player. Well, what do you expect, right? I mean, he's 42 years old, and there's only one Tom Brady. You know, not to keep comparing the two, but for somebody to know that the Saints aren't going to be throwing the ball down the field a whole bunch, I think he played pretty damn well, you know, with the defense not having to worry about the ball getting thrown over the top of their head too much. So, you know, and back to the coach on the field thing, he's in game plan meetings. He's the first guy in the building. He's the last guy out of the building. He's in the meetings with the coaches. Sometimes he will install specific plays during the week if he really likes them. Like, okay, this is Drew's play, and receiver coaches will tell us, "Hey, man, get this right. This is Drew's play, right?" Like we don't want to mess up his play. And to even take that a step further, every Saturday, usually walkthrough day. And travel day if you have a road game, or walk through and everybody just kind of go home and relax until you have to make it to the hotel Saturday night. After the walkthrough, we're dismissed, right? And some guys will go into like the weight room, get a shake or do a little workout or something. The practice squad guys usually go in and work out. And Drew will go in and make a shake. And without even talking to anybody, he'll walk back out to the indoor. And sometimes the lights are off, and he doesn't care. He'll go in there all by himself and run through the entire game plan for that week off of the top of his head, doing every single drop, pointing to every single guy and every single route by himself every week. The guy that's in his 20th year does this. And so like as a younger player, I mean, obviously I wasn't young, but a younger player, watching him do that, like I would be in the weight room looking at him in awe, like I can't believe this dude is doing this. Mm-hmm. But there's no wonder why he has the success that he does, because he's sharp up here. He's always mentally prepared. He's gonna be able to get us out of difficult situations because he's put the time in. And so it really, like, I realize how blessed and how fortunate I was to be able to play with him for 8 years and really not have to worry about those things. And really, even beyond that, like 8 years with him, my rookie year, I didn't play in any regular season games. Aaron Brooks was the quarterback, but he was okay, but he wasn't Drew Brees. Right. And then I leave New Orleans. I get 1 year with Ben Roethlisberger, who will be a Hall of Famer. And then my last year in 15 was in Detroit with Stafford, who I think is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the National Football League. Obviously, he's been stuck on not great teams, but talent and ability, like dude is special. And I really am excited to see how he plays for the Rams this year, because, you know, he's a guy that's been surrounded by poor protection up front. So he's been getting killed, getting sacked like crazy. Not a lot of running game. He's had, I think, 1,000-yard rusher in his entire career there in Detroit. And then defenses that have been really up and down. So for him to go there with all the weapons that they have on offense, a decent enough offensive line, and a defense that balls,
yes,
it could be scary out there for the NFC West, because dude can slang it. Like he can slang it for real. And I hope he does really well for sure. That's my guy, Staff.
Yeah, I get a lot of flack because I'm a 49ers fan. I was like praying, like, if we get Matt Stafford, Super Bowl baby. But a lot of people just like, man, Matt Stafford. I'm like, bro, he was throwing the no-look passes and underhand.
Been doing it.
Like Pat Mahomes, he been doing that. But it's just the fact that, like, he played for the Lions. And I was at the game when Calvin Johnson got the 320.
Yep.
That's when I was like, okay, this dude is for real. Like, Calvin Johnson did get the 320, but he came back. My bad, flight gets the Cowboys. He came back. he came back against the Dallas, and I was just like, he outdoed Tony Romo. It was like one of the craziest things I ever seen. So
yeah,
getting to that part you was talking about with Drew Brees and culture thing. It's always easy to build a culture when you have your best player and your leader doing stuff like that, like doing the stuff that he was doing. You have no choice. The other players have no choice but to follow along and work hard and do the right things when your top guy is doing beyond and doing more than everybody else is doing and doing all the right things. It builds the culture even easier, man. Like when you have a guy like you got Kobe Bryant on your team, rest in peace, and he's the guy who's always staying after, getting shots up, doing everything. He makes it so much easier for the coach and whoever to say, look, you need to do this, this, and that. You can't look and say, well, this guy ain't doing it, and he's getting paid the most money. You can't ever do that because this guy's putting all the work in. So you have to do it, and that makes the culture so much easier to build. So I mean, I completely understand why they've had the success they've had so far.
Well, yeah, and at that point, there's no excuses for anybody, right? I mean, you can't be thinking about leaving practice early if you see the first ballot Hall of Famer still out there getting work.
No, you got to do something. Like you have to do. Like you might not even want to do something, but like you have to like at least go in there and like do some. You just be doing some curls and you see them leave. You just be sitting in there doing triceps or something. You got to do something while they work. You can't be, especially if you're a young dude. You can't be the first dude to be just pulled out of there. Like especially if the best player is still in there working. You got to do something. Watch film or something. Like that's got to.
Yeah, well, and I think it's obviously there's no excuses, but in New Orleans, the culture was so right that the coaches didn't even have to say anything to anybody. Like everybody would see it, and then not everybody, right? Everybody's not staying out after practice every time, but the guys that needed to, like, all right, he's here, I'm here. Hey, Drew, what you want? What you want? I got whatever you need. Whatever you need, I got you. And that was a big part of the connection that he had with all the receivers, the running backs, the tight ends. Like you get reps, you only get so many reps in practice, right? And if the reps aren't perfect, sometimes the coach will run them back. But usually you're not getting those plays back. So the time that you really get things on the same page with your quarterback and that connection and just the unspoken even, especially in football, like we don't have time to have conversations too much between plays because it's from one play to the next play to the next play. You can talk in between series, but you have to be able to get from one play to the next play, know what you have, know what the adjustments are, and make sure that you and him are on the same page. And the only way that you're going to do that is by repetition. And when you get those extra reps, either before or after practice, and that we realized that, and it really helped that the group of receivers that we have, myself, Marcus Colston, Devery Henderson, Robert Meacham, Courtney Roby, like we were so close that we didn't care who was eating because if one of us was eating, we were all eating. And so it really made it easy for us to just go out and play and cheer for the next guy and the next guy and the next guy because we knew that Drew was the best in the business as far as distributing the football to who was supposed to get it based on how the defense plays, not who was supposed to get it number one on the paper in the game plan. Nah, I played with some quarterbacks like that. I'm not going to mention his name, but he's looking at number one and he ain't worried about everybody else. But Drew Brees, if player 3 in the progression is open, player 3 is getting that rock. And that's just that. I think that was why our offense was rolling the way that it was in those years because he didn't care. Like he's going to be able to read the defense and he's going to be able to get the ball to who's supposed to get it and when they're supposed to get it.
How much work, because I always wonder, like reading hot reads, and how much work off the field it seems like it's a lot of work for both the quarterback and the wide receivers to understand just exactly where you got to be and where everybody got, especially for the quarterback. You always hear about how some dudes just wasn't successful because they didn't study enough. And like, I think people underestimate just how much quarterbacks and even wide receivers have to study the game to understand that kind of stuff. So how much work does it really take?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it starts with the complexities of professional defenses. Like the NFL defenses have so many different variations, so many different little things that can change guys that are making it look a certain way, then the ball snapped and they're rotating into something else. So you have to adjust on the fly. The film study. And I think even before that, it starts with the concept, right? Whatever the offensive concept is, you've got to understand that totally before you can even think about what the defense is doing. If you don't know what you're doing, you shouldn't be worried about what they're doing anyway, because you ain't going to be on the field. So mastering what you have to do. And it goes beyond just mastering what you have to do, mastering what each guy has to do on the field. Now, obviously, receivers don't have to know what linemen are doing, but receivers need to know what the tight ends are doing. Receivers need to know the progression to which the quarterback is reading the defense. The receivers sometimes need to know, and you talked about hot reads, the receivers sometimes need to know who the running back is picking up against what blitzes and pressures, because that would tell me if I'm a hot or if I'm a sight adjust or if I'm somebody that's got to be looking for the ball earlier than what it says on the paper. So yeah, there's a lot of time and work that's put into that. And somebody who doesn't play in the NFL doesn't realize how much time is devoted to the classroom. I mean, it is you meet probably 3 to 4 times as much as you're on the field, maybe even more than that, maybe 10 times as much as you're actually on the field practicing. You only practice 3 days a week in the NFL. And nowadays with the constraints as far as how long you can be on the field, you're talking 8 hours of practice time. You're meeting for way more than that throughout the week. And it's important because you've got to understand, like I said, obviously what you have to do and then what the defense is doing, because they pretty much dictate how certain plays or concepts are going to be run and where the ball is going to go to, obviously.
Yeah, that's dope, man. That's dope. People, like you said, people that don't just watch the game, they just don't understand how much work it is, man. Like
people say you play football for a living. I'm like, yeah, I play football, but it's more than just what you see on Sunday.
Right.
Like they think that you practice some and then you show up on Sunday and that's your job. Like, nah.
Yeah, man, that's dope though, bro.
Yeah.
That's wild. So we got a segment on our show we call What Is He On? You kind of tipped it off earlier with Brett Favre. So what is he on? You want to explain it or you want me to explain it?
No, What Is He On is basically a segment where we just somebody in the world is just on some BS, and we just gotta ask, what is he on right now? Because and you alluded to it earlier, like you said, the man Brett Favre, like not just Brett Favre, but I just heard something. Carson Palmer just said something about Dak Prescott, about how he should be with the Dallas Cowboys and take less money because he's playing for the Cowboys or something crazy like that. So I just want to know, what are these old quarterback dudes on right now? Like, what do you think it is? Because counting money has never been like, I've never been into that. I don't know why people do that, but like, what do you think Brett Favre's on right now?
I think Brett Favre is tripping. I think Brett Favre is still rocking his invisible red MAGA hat. And I think, look, man, like, it's crazy that Brett Favre would say that. He did the exact same thing to the Packers
for years.
So now all of a sudden, a black quarterback is wanting to get moved, and it's a problem. Like, come on, man. Like, it's obvious. He doesn't have to say it for us to know that he has a problem with the black quarterback that wants to get out of his situation into a better one. Like, come on. And even Carson Palmer. I don't know Carson Palmer. I don't know Brett Favre personally either. But I know that, like, why are they speaking on black quarterbacks? Why is it, like, to me, it's an issue that has nothing to do with football, obviously. Yeah. Like, are they jealous? Are they mad that these guys are making more money than them? How could they pay Deshaun Watson more than I made? Or how dare Dak Prescott want a 4-year contract instead of a 5? Like, shut up, man. Like, as a former player, as much as I would have loved to have made, as much as the receivers are making now, like, goodness, I would never, ever hate on these dudes making money and doing whatever it takes to make themselves happy. Obviously, as long as it's legal, like, I'm not endorsing anybody doing anything stupid, but Brett Favre is tripping, and he's going to continue to trip as long as they put a microphone in front of him. And like somebody like me who was a Brett Favre fan, I just loved the way that he played. Gunslinger, didn't really care about much, was tough as nails. I just have lost a whole lot of respect for him for a lot of the things that he said. Obviously, him being a Trump supporter, I'm not trying to get too political out here, but as Black men, we understand how the people who are Trump supporters are
Right.
And I'm not gonna say all of them, but if you ain't have a problem with him, then I got a problem with you, and that's just what it is. And I don't know. It's unfortunate that these guys have these takes. I wish they would just keep them to themselves at this point. You know, it's not benefiting anybody, and if anything, it's gonna negatively affect the players, and that to me is BS.
I mean, I really think it's about them really hating the fact that a young black man has the position to do this. Like that he's in a position and he has the ability to be like, okay, I don't have to play. Like I don't have to play. Like if you're not going to, follow what I want to do and go with what I want to go, I won't play. And they hate that. They really hate that. Like, and I mean, I know he's just, especially the Houston Texans, like owners. I know he's killing them because they just want you to just shut up and play. That's their whole organization. I think all of the Houston organizations are like that, and I think that's one of the big problems. And I like to see their blood boil a little bit. It makes me happy to see a guy like Brett Favre. And that's the one good thing about Trump, not to get political, is really revealing people's true colors and true nature.
Yep.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the one good takeaway from the whole Trump thing. You could really, before people was closeted, they can be all happy go, but now you're really seeing who's who and what's what and how they really feel. And I'd rather it be that way. I'd rather you let me know that who you are.
Yeah, I need to know.
You know what I'm saying? So,
because then you can move accordingly, as opposed to being around these people who feel some type of way and you don't have any idea. Like,
right.
You're dead on with that. It's just, to me, it's sad because because there's a lot more of them than even I realize. Obviously, we all know that racism still exists. We've all dealt with it, but to see it, in the way that it's been revealed, in the last 5 years plus, it's disappointing, and it shows that how much more work that this country has to do to get to where it needs to be. And it's not just old people. Like I used to just think like, oh, all the old racists gonna die and then we're gonna be good. Like, nah, that was like naive me. Like you see all these young high school, middle school kids with the hat and doing the BS like that. To me, they're being taught that. So that means the old folks are still teaching it. Yeah. It's dangerous, man. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate for sure.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, man, we appreciate you coming on.
For sure, man. Appreciate it.
Like, subscribe, share. The Great Lance Moore, Flight White, Ron Hamp. We signing off.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate y'all.